Sip, Create, Repeat, a podcast where makers meet marketers and share their stories. So fill up your cup and turn it up.
Welcome back to another episode of the Sip, Create, Repeat podcast. I am your host, Chris Schneider.
And I am also your host, Pat Rauda.
And today we are going to be, we're coming to you remote. This is going to be a little bit different than normal. We're not in the office with our cool green wall. This is kind of like our pandemic edition, our first shot at a podcast remote right now, given the circumstances. So today we want to talk to you a little bit about ways that people can shift into remote work, but also some of the needs for some of the other industries that are out there, because there are plenty of businesses that are struggling right now that still need to kind of push forward and figure things out. And then talk about some of the ways that people are innovating right now, because I think if there's one thing to note, it's that times like this is when innovation really takes hold, because people are kind of forced to innovate. And I do think that, we're seeing a lot of that right now, and I'm really interested to see the long-term effects of that. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
Yeah, so I think, one of the things we kind of want to dive into is, we set ourselves up to be remote, from the start. We kind of got the office after we were already able to kind of run the way everyone's running now. So just I think we want to share a few of the tips that we have for, balancing home and work when you're working from home all the time. And I think, Chris, you can really attest to this even more so because, you have 3 kids at home. It's a little bit easier. It's a little bit easier for me. It's just me and my dog. So that's about it. But, what are some tips for you balancing that home life when you're dealing with kids and your wife and them needing stuff all the time from you, but you also are hey, I need to get some work done?
Sure. So for those that don't know, and most probably don't, when we took Duo full-time, I was actually a full-time stay-at-home dad at the same time, which was challenging. So for those of you that are forced to work from home right now, but also are trying to be that stay-at-home parent, I get it. I've been there. The big thing, so for me, is I need to have a structure to my days. A lot of times right now, people are just kind of winging it, right? They're just waking up and then just kind of going about their day. I find that structure in my day helps a lot. I try to get up early, whether I exercise or I try to dive right into work, either or. But I try to set aside a specific amount of time. Back when the kids wouldn't wake up until maybe, 8 a.m., I would try to get up at 6 and try to get an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of work in, and then go about my day with the kids. And then nap times, that's when you got to pour that extra cup of coffee because you're usually kind of tired by that point, but you have to kind of just kind of bunker down and get to it. What winds up happening right now is a lot of times what was downtime is now going to be work time. But don't be afraid to take breaks. That was one of the biggest things I learned. When you work in an office environment, you have kind of natural pauses in your day, or you say okay, I just need to walk away from this for a little bit. What ends up happening when you're at home is you don't do that. You just heads down and you just go, especially if you're on these really broken up, work periods or working hours in your day. Don't be afraid to take breaks. Don't be afraid to walk around. Don't be afraid to do some of that. What I would advise is try to keep the TV off if you can. Try to avoid some of those bigger distractions. But if you're allowed to, wherever it is that you are watching this right now, but if you're allowed to take a walk, just kind of clear your head in whatever way you need to. That way you can come back into your work really refreshed and ready to maximize the time. Because it's the big thing is your time's going to be less, so it's more important that you're really focused during those times.
So I think, another big thing is we've utilized a lot of different tools, different platforms, different software, all sorts of different things to also keep us optimized, along with that time management that you're talking about, because it's obviously a huge part. But, I think there are a handful of great tools that we have. I know one of the big ones that we're recording this on right now is Zoom. And Zoom has been huge. I just saw recently that it's the second most downloaded mobile app, only behind TikTok right now, which is insane to think about. I'm not sure exactly, why everyone has just found Zoom to be the darling over Google Hangouts and things like that, but it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think for me, the one thing I've noticed is Zoom is just so easy. Like, I don't know, even if you don't have the software on your computer or on your phone, if you click a link, it'll have you download it so fast. They don't ask for a ton of stuff. You don't have to have like a specific account. For those that don't have Google accounts, you get on a Hangout. It's like always been a bit of a fight. So I think Zoom just makes it really easy. But I also know that right now, my wife is a teacher, and right now with educators, I believe Zoom is free or heavily discounted. I don't recall off the top of my head. So a lot of teachers are having to utilize it in that way to try to connect with their students again as they try to figure out the whole distance learning, ecosystem that they're now in. So I don't know, Zoom it's awesome. It's allowed us to keep in touch with our team as we've grown our team. It's been growing in more and more remote ways. We have team members that are in the UK. We have team members in New York area. We also have some down in Columbus. So people are really kind of scattered out, and rarely are they actually in our office, yet we don't seem to really miss a beat when it comes to working remote.
Yeah, I think if anything, we've kind of leaned even more into it, trying to utilize Zoom in more ways that probably everyone else is, where we're trying to like host these like virtual happy hours and things just with not just our team, but also like clients or, other friends that are maybe working from home now, or freelancers that may be working on their own, all kinds of things like that. So I think it's been awesome, and it's been a huge help, especially in a time like this.
Yeah, I mean that loss of like human touch has been it's painful, but being able to maybe just say, hey, let's have a happy hour. Let's not talk necessarily about work. Let's not talk about some of those things, but let's just kind of hang out. And it's been fun. It's been fun to hear the different experiences that people are going through right now with this, because as we know, I feel like state by state, city by city, country by country, it's different for everyone right now.
Definitely. And I think, another tool that has been very effective for us, obviously, is, the entire Google platform, right? All of our working files, things that we're sharing between people all the time, they're all stored up on Google's cloud, easily accessed for all of us. So it's not, it really hasn't limited us in any way, shape, or form, not being in the same actual physical spot, at least you and me. So
yeah, I mean, our outline for this very podcast, at one point we were both in there working, trying to get some of that stuff organized, some of our thoughts organized, but we do that with our entire team. Being able to kind of real time work through a doc and leave comments directly into a document, and they just get emailed as soon as there's a comment drop that references them. I think it's really big, really important. It syncs really fast. So, if I save a file to Google Drive, I know that within a couple of minutes, you're going to be able to pull it up and work on it yourself. So I just think they've done a really good job of doing that, and it's helped us collaborate even more.
I think another big tool that we started using a lot is Loom. I think it's a great way for us to communicate with our team members, to give instant feedback, but also to like show them kind of what's going on. It's a screen recording platform that allows you to record audio and video over top of it and explain stuff. So especially in our world, when it's a lot of visuals, things like that, it's a great tool that will let you communicate your thoughts quickly, concisely, and provide like a great little video file for someone to look at and digest.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that if there's any educators out there, they are doing free plans for educators, and I think they reduced all of their plan prices 50% right now during this pandemic crisis, because they understand how important their software can be for people that are all of a sudden finding themselves in these like really broken up teams where everyone's working remote. But yeah, I mean, just last night I had 10 or 15 minutes to hop on and try to get a little bit of work done. And I thought, okay, what is the best way to spend my time? And I needed to provide feedback to our team about a website build that we're doing. And instead of writing up a big, huge email that might be misunderstood, I just hopped on the site and created a Loom. and just kind of walked through my process, walked through my kind of mental thoughts there. And what ended up happening is I think they can watch that whenever they want, because if there's one thing right now, and this is to employers, this is to people maybe dealing with contractors, if you're working with other clients that are also trying to, navigate these waters right now, is people are going to work at weird times, and you can't be discouraged by that. They're trying to find their norm right now. They're trying to find what is going to work best for them right now. I don't know that any of our team is ever on at the exact same time unless we specifically ask them to be on all together right now. All that you can do is say, hey, let me know when you're going to get this done. So Loom is a great way for us to be able to provide our thoughts like they were in our office, like they were with us and we were having a small meeting, but they can then put the kind of, things into place whenever they get around to it.
Yeah, and I think, another sort of, and it's not really so much a tool, but I think this is just sort of almost goes to like remote team building. It was something we started actually a long time ago, is we really like utilize Snapchat as just like a social platform for our team, right? Because of the fact that, yeah, when you're working in an office with someone all the time, it's great. You can actually build up some camaraderie. They let you know about what's going on in their life, things like that. But, when you don't have that interaction on a daily basis, what is it that you can do to kind of share, more about you on a human personal level? And I think, we created like a duo Snapchat where it's like we basically just send pictures of puppies and kids and fun things like that. And it's an awesome way to kind of to break up the work side of work and get to know your team on a more personal level, especially when you're remote. Yeah,
that's a great point. I mean, I love whenever we get snaps in that group. I love whenever, someone is willing to share some of their personal life with us, because I do think it helps get us all a little bit closer together. And I agree. I think people can lean on that a little bit right now too, and just see like what sort of relationships can you build when you are not all in the office together, right? And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of building relationships with our team by using Snapchat.
100%. I think a big thing that obviously has come of this is it's highlighted the need for a ton of businesses to either quickly set up, invest, do whatever they have to in e-commerce. So, talk a little bit about just like what you've kind of seen from some businesses that maybe weren't traditionally e-com based that have now had to find ways to either get product or food or do sales in some other non-traditional way because they don't have the face-to-face interaction with their customers right now.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of people spin up these random Shopify stores. And for those that are listening that don't know what Shopify is, it's one of the easiest ways to build an e-commerce website. The beauty of Shopify right now is they took their 30-day trial and they extended it to 90 days. So if you've never had an online store and you're nervous about like, man, I don't know if I want to put any money on like a monthly recurring thing, which it's pretty affordable. But even then, they allowed it to be 90 days out, which is awesome. So we've seen restaurants sell gift cards where people just can go on. A lot of small businesses are doing that right now, where people can go online and buy gift cards to try to support their favorite businesses. But also there's some places that will get on first thing in the morning and they will put like their today's menu right on their website, and then you can pick and choose what you want, order it, and then they'll try to have it ready for you at a specific time. I think right now people should focus on some sort of online store. It's kind of the one area that these small businesses can still operate. And I think by getting a little bit creative and by building something that might be non-traditional, I think it actually would work pretty well for them, and it allows their customers to still engage with them, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think a huge thing that's been identified in all this is actually like how you shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket. And I think that goes not only just for, your sales pipelines and things like that, but it also even goes for, we are a digital marketing agency, so we, push all kinds of different platforms. What happens if one day Facebook's just gone and all of your eggs were in the Facebook basket? I think this has just provided people an opportunity to kind of take a look at their businesses all the way around and say, hey, maybe I was focusing way too much here and wasn't ready to make a quick pivot, and now I'm kind of in a tough situation. So I think it's been probably pretty eye-opening to a lot of businesses on finding ways to kind of evolve for the future.
Mm-hmm. And I think those places are going to automatically see like, oh, that's an online store that's going to cost a ton of money, right? And there are ways that you can get online stores built super efficiently. But I think Shopify is probably going to be the easiest platform for people to even try to DIY it. And I think a lot of people could find some success, especially if you have a little bit of technical ability. You know how to use a computer pretty well, then I think they can spin something up and get something running. Then obviously we're here to help. We've put packages together for small businesses that are kind of working through these things right now. We're always here to help and try to help these people out and get creative with them. Because one thing about times like this is there's some people that they're almost numb right now. They can't think. They can't think of creative solutions. They can't think of new ideas because they're so focused on the fact that they lost this main portion of their business. But we can help come up with some of those creative ideas for people as well.
Even a lot of businesses probably are going to be going the route of, taking some sort of relief from the government during this. And so I think finding even creative ways to maybe not only you want to keep the business afloat and keep people paid and things like that, but also is there a way that you can take some of that and invest in your company for the future and, invest in, if God forbid, another thing like this were to happen, how can you be prepared for it in the future?
Yeah, I think, one of the big things that we always try to push to people, especially because we usually specialize in a lot of e-commerce work here, one big thing we try to push to people is running Facebook ads and running them consistently. And the reason being is because Facebook ads can help build audiences in multiple different ways. They can build audiences that you could retarget down the road, but they can also help build your email list. And your email list, for those that were fortunate enough to build a pretty good sized email list right now, you're able to tap into those emails without actually having to spend like a lot of money out of pocket to do it. Usually you have like a monthly fee with whoever your email marketing company is, but that's it. And you can send as many emails as you want, to where those that have to continue to build their audiences from Facebook, it's kind of that pay to play. It is an advertising platform. So they have to pay a little bit of money to, kind of get that audience in front of them.
And along with that pay to play right now, like what have you been seeing? I think people will be interested to know, what are you seeing on that ad side? How has this affected things like ad spend on Facebook and different social networks like that?
It's actually really exciting. If you have the means to be able to spend right now, it is a really exciting time, and there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a measurement out there on Facebook that's called CPM. It's basically cost per 1,000 people that view your ad. So it's a pretty significant measurement when you're trying to understand how much your ads are going to cost you. So right now we've seen CPMs be around 40% lower than what they were just a week ago. If this continues, on that trend, you could see 50 or 60% reduction in CPMs. So what that means is now, your maybe $200 advertisement might go a lot further right now than it would have just a week or two ago. So we've been communicating with a lot of our clients to double down on their ad spend right now, even if it means that they don't have a lot of sales, because what winds up happening is you're building an audience. And I think that's really, really awesome. And I think that's a really effective way to spend your money right now. You might not see a direct ROI at the moment, but you are going to be able to retarget that traffic down the road. So one thing we're doing is we're sending people saying, hey, view our website, so that the objective is for them to go to our client's website. And then what we're doing here in, 2, 3, 4 months, whenever hopefully this thing is, settled down and life is getting back to whatever our new normal is, we can run a new campaign based on traffic that is visiting the website right now. And what we have found is that it's actually a really, really effective way to run ads, because oftentimes people aren't purchasing the very first time they see ads.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you are able to capitalize, it is a huge opportunity to capitalize right now. I saw, an article on somewhere that was saying, the CEO of Verizon is seeing a 20% web traffic week over week increase. So there are a lot of engaged eyeballs that are staring at their screens right now because they're cooped up inside. So if you have the means to spend to at least start building that, that brand equity, that, when people start to like spend again, you were able to take advantage of it now when the eyeballs are on you.
Yeah. And I think one thing to keep in mind for those that are like have been running ads or have ads running for a long time, or for those of you that are going to be spinning up new ads or working with ads companies, just make sure that you kind of audit your messaging, right? Be very careful about your messaging right now. There's a lot of people that are in a pretty rough place. And so just make sure that you're mindful of that. I think keep your ethics intact. I think, now more than ever, have a little bit of empathy in your message. I think authenticity is huge right now. Everyone's kind of going through the same stuff. And so if you're trying to sell your widgets and you're trying to really push on people, they might actually have some backlash against your brand. So really kind of try to focus on little things. I saw an ad for Tom's, the shoe, designer, manufacturer. I don't even know. It was shoe company. Yeah. And they are right now, a lot of their ads are pushing towards like slippers, right? Because a lot of people are staying at home. And so it says, working from home ? And then it just has a picture of like some really comfy looking slippers. And guess what? Now I want to buy some new slippers because I am working from home and I have hardwood floors, and here in Cleveland, it's still kind of cold out. So I think those are good ways to go about it. I think those are really great ways to go about it. I just had a conversation earlier today with a guy that runs a hat company here in Cleveland. And I noticed a lot of their posts have dropped off significantly. I don't see as much ads from them right now. And I reached out to him and I just said, like, hey, it's actually a good time to be a hat company because none of us can get haircuts from our barbers right now, right? This is the first time I've not had a hat on in the 2 weeks. And I just cut this myself, so I won't go too close on it and I won't zoom in too much, but it's actually a good time to be a hat manufacturer right now. And so I told him, I said, maybe be a little playful in your messaging, say stuff like, hey, we understand the barber shut down, we've got you covered, right? And like stuff like that. And I think, even use a funny coupon code like, barbershop or something, could be really good for an apparel company that sells hats. So
absolutely. I'm going to be living in a hat for the foreseeable future because I was scheduled to get my haircut the day that Ohio decided to actually close all of the barbershop salons and all that. So I was already at my 4 weeks and we'll just let it go as long as we have to. So
Pat's going to have some really long, luscious hair by the time this whole thing's all done.
Honestly, it's probably very true.
Right. One of the other things that I think this isn't even directed towards the e-commerce stores, but they should be tapping into this right now. For those businesses out there that have big email lists, you need to go all in on them. If you do not have an email list that you consider big, everyone's going to consider big a little bit different, right? Some people will think like 200 people, that's a huge email list for them. Very good. Some people, 10,000, 20,000. We have a client that has 92,000 subscribers on an email list. Right now, we are really making an effort to tap into that list and to send out emails. Now, same thing on the ad side, same thing on the Facebook posts side or social media posts. Have some empathy, keep your ethics intact. But what I was, with some of the messaging that we've put out is There are flexible payment options available for those that need it or those that want it. But also we detailed that the flexible payment provider that they use is actually doing a lot of this kind of like COVID-19 relief right now, where they understand if you can't make a payment or two, there's not late fees, there's none of that stuff. So I think you have to tap into this email world. Email was invented forever ago, it seems, but it's still the most reliable way to reach people, and it's still the most reliable way to turn potential customers into new customers.
I think that's a good point you bring up. About people being sort of transparent too in this time, like in their you were talking about lenders, or like those people out there that are going to say, hey, we understand that there's some tough times and you might not be able to make your payments, so they're being a little flexible with people. I think what companies also need to do is they need to let their customers know, hey, shipping delays may happen. Our store's shut down, so if we're not as readily available to get on the phone or something like that, because they weren't maybe set up to be completely remote just yet and they're still kind of figuring out. I think now more than ever, people are realizing, like, hey, we're all humans and we get it, and there's some things that are more important than others. And if that Amazon Prime package can't get here in 2 days, you know what, it's not going to be the end of the world, and it'll be all right.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would rather know that it's going to be late versus expecting something to be there in just a couple of days and then going like, hey, where's that widget that I bought? Where's that thing that I bought? And I think that's always good. I would prefer transparency, especially right now. Transparency is going to be huge right now. And if you can, tap into that as a business, I do think it'll pay off for you both in the short term and the long term.
Absolutely. So I think, that's kind of just our take on a lot of this. We hope you guys found some value in whatever we're talking about, and enjoyed a little bit of just our take on, the work from home quarantine lifestyle now. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast on wherever you get your podcasts. Also, be sure to follow us on social at Duo Cleveland, all over the place. We have a bunch of stuff that'll be coming out while we're all cooped up at home too. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.